Creativity. Imagination is strongly from the heart energy center, vitality, sexuality, body contact, and the element of water. The bond with the thyroid energy center, appearance, and its own associated element of space works a huge role too. Subsequently, if you are able to point out your natural creative imagination, you might experience more fluidity in all of your being and more mental space. As I've already described, when creative manifestation is inhibited, you are likely to experience feelings of dammed up drinking water, increased rigidity, and stuckness. This would express in the ways you think, move the body, and play music. Musical appearance wouldn't usually be really playful when moving from one musical idea to another. You will see hesitations, more moments of frustration, and too little impulse in ideas. The source of this rigidity, this dammed up feeling, is because of the excessive interference from thoughts stemming from one or even more earlier authorities, such as parents, teachers, uncles, and aunts, who imposed their own rigidity on the kid, who consequently lost his naturalness. If the natural movement of creative imagination is blocked, hostility and annoyance are obviously induced, which may sometimes lead to obsessive behavior and boredom. The passing from boredom to creative imagination is actually a movement from an external power into one's own specialist. On the amount of a population, this is a move from fascism to personality and creativity. Somebody who is absolutely creative is inspired by their own authority and resources. They know their own value, or at least are beginning to perceive it. Every time a person displays any authentic, natural, creative imagination, he starts showing his personality. To expose himself, he sticks his throat out and meets the risk of triggering reactions in others. This crossing over from creative paralysis to imagination provides relief and joy. It really is as if a bird had rediscovered its natural way of singing. No matter how imagination shows itself, everyone has their own inclinations, their own faculties. The main thing is to allow it stream like normal water from the foundation. In this interconnection, I believe it is quite helpful never to let yourself be affected and limited by musical patterns. Being creative may lead you to definitely change tonal systems, to use forgotten methods, to tune the musical instrument differently, for example. It is simple to discover that creative expression may get its impulses from different levels. When someone is prohibited to express easily, when rigid pondering and emotions hinder the creative manifestation, then disappointment and a gross emotional level, lower astral, will be expressed. When expressing feelings, however, the individual is in touch with the finer section of the psychological field, upper astral. Impulses will come from lower and higher mental levels. It is merely when someone is unimpeded in these levels that creative imagination starts to stream naturally. This is exactly what I call natural ingenuity. Then your player or performer can sketch his or her motivation from higher or deeper levels, expressing religious prices such as pleasure, compassion, serenity, and by doing this may illuminate visions of trust. Your memory of a creative phase may last for a period of time. The flame, though, needs air. Individual creativity and vitality never pass away. Nonetheless, they can be stored away in the unconscious, where they could possibly remain out of view and inaccessible. We need to be aware that creativeness is not about creating skill or commercial items. The value of creativity, separately as much as socially, isn't of external authorization or commercial values. A whole lot of so-called artwork is given much too much importance, and its own value is distorted by market mechanisms. It puts a few designers over a pedestal and pays them richly for operating out what actually everyone should be and could be doing. Then each person would be getting in touch with and living his own specialist. That's another story. I remember the home validating experience that music periods were for a guy in a jail where I worked for 4 years. He previously got several bad clashes with jail wardens because of his significant specialist issues and dammed up anger. A prison is an extremely difficult place to offer with this. In reality, there was no chance could maintain the right when disagreeing with a jail warden. In the case of an injustice, he had hardly any protection under the law by any means, which allows him to correct the situation. He finished up by turning his violent thoughts against himself, slicing his lower arms with razor-cutting blades or anything he may find. He didn't know how to play any musical instrument but said he'd wish to try the drum equipment. He obviously experienced a surprise for participating in it. The actual fact of having a job to experience in an organization, of experiencing a spotlight in his each week jail routine, and to be able to talk with other folks as up to identical, as well as being able to point out himself over a drum kit, brought joy back to his life and allowed him to forget his destructiveness for some time.